Hello, everybody. Welcome to Meade Fit and Lean. If you're new, please hit that like and subscribe button. Welcome to another installment of Politics and Sweet Tea. On this segment, I'm discussing the trad movement and why I believe in support. And I'm also discussing why I'm 45 years old, never married, no wife, no kids. I know it's sort of weird, right? How can you be trad when you live at home and, working part-time, you don't really have a full career and everything. There's a lot of explanations, folks, I'll get into. I got called, oh, by the way, folks, I got my first treatment of ageism on the internet. So I got called, they said, aren't you a little old to be on YouTube? This was from a Menendez fangirl. And I think it's very ironic because I've been on YouTube since I was young. Like I was 24, 25 years old when YouTube first was established. So almost 20 years I've been on YouTube's. And I was one of the first content creators, and now I'm being said I'm too old to be on YouTube. I think, isn't that funny how that works? But anyway, I don't care. Oh, old, middle age, whatever. But I think it was from someone of a certain demographic, if you know what I mean. To this demographic, 21 is ancient. But so the problem is, folks, I am not married. I don't have kids, and I really feel like, how can I preach about traditionalism? How can I be so passionate about traditionalism? But it's because I grew up in a house where we believed in God and we had Christian values, and my parents, had 5 children. I'm the youngest of 5 children. I was born in 1979. And my mother was almost 42, by the way, when she had me. And the doctor said, abort, 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 because your son is going to be a potato head. And she said, my son is not going to be a Mr. Potato Head. Thank you very much. And she was very anti-abortion, anti-Planned Parenthood. And she said, I am keeping my baby. Just like Madonna. I'm keeping my baby, don't preach. But so I was born to older parents who were well into their 40s when I was born. And back then, that was pretty old. Although, childbearing years for women are usually typically 16 to 40. It's generally when they have children, right? When you think of childbearing. Although 20s is a sweet spot for childbearing. My mother had no problem getting pregnant. My parents hardly ever did that sort of thing because they only did it when there was nothing else to do, They were that kind of couple. They never liked to do, that for fun. To them, it was a chore. But why am I not married? Why don't I have kids? Well, first of all, folks, I happen to be on the autism spectrum disorder. I know it's hard to tell because I'm so good at hiding it. I wear a mask really well. I do this at work. And I'm not into furries or all the typical autism stuff that's really wacko and degenerate. I'm very normal. But I have trouble making eye contact, except to the camera. I love the camera. Hello, camera. But I have trouble making eye contact in person. So when you're talking to a female, person of the female gender, and you can't make eye contact, they think you're a creep. Unless you look like Brad Pitt or something. This is where the Chads win. I'm a Melvin, apparently. I'm a Melvin. I could be a Chad Light, but we'll get into that later. As a Melvin, I don't really have many options, and a lot of the older women are wanting to go for younger men, and bless their hearts, but I'm afraid they're in for a bit of a shock because they're not going to do very well. But yeah, they think that they can get 6'2", I'm only 5'11" at most. I think I'm 5'11 and a half. I'm not sure. But I'm not over 6 foot, unless I wear my cowboy boots. But then they'll pull a Ron DeSantis on me and say I'm tricking my height. But why am I not married? Why don't I have kids? Well, I have autism, and when I was 21 years old, I was infected with Lyme disease, Lone Star tick disease, because I got a tick bite, and so I have chronic Lyme disease, so it makes it very hard for me to do a lot of things. Even when I was very young, I had terrible sleep, I had fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, arthritis. So a lot of these things made it hard to get a wifey. And then also, on top of that, your 20s are going to fly by. I'm just going to give you all a black pill for a minute, all you young people, because I know you think you're immune to this. But your 20s go by so fast. Before you know it, you're 22 and then you're 30. So don't think you have a lot of time. If you want to get married by 30, you got to start planning at 21, 22. It takes almost 10 years to, these days especially, I don't know about my generation, but these days, you better be planning when you're 19, 20 if you want to get married at 30, because your 20s fly by. And then before you know it, you're 30 and people start calling you old even though you're not old. I never understood this obsession with, like, if you're past a certain age, your opinion is no longer relevant. You're too old to have an opinion. That doesn't make sense to me, because you think as you get older that you have more wisdom and you have more, your opinion holds more weight than when you're young. But we flip-flop as a society where the young people who don't know anything, I hate to sound like a boomer, okay, I'm not a boomer, but I hate to sound like one, but they are right, as young people think they know everything. They think they know everything. So if you're old, like me, I'm old apparently, you don't have the right to an opinion. You can't share an opinion. You just get dismissed as old or a Karen, another anti-white slur. So this is how they shut you down, but it's mostly by people of a certain demographic. But anyway, folks, this is why I'm not married, don't have kids. I'm autistic and I have Lyme disease. That's the short answer. I could go on into a spiel about, my mother died when I was 11 years old. I didn't have any friends in school. I was bullied and tortured and tormented through most of my high school experience. I withdrew. I felt suicidal at one point. No, actually, I never was suicidal. Homicidal, maybe, but not suicidal. But I just couldn't focus on that. So I thought I would be a country music star, and then the females would flock to me. But apparently that didn't happen, because God protected me from the satanic music industry. So I was protected, but at the same time I couldn't get a wife and kids because I had no real career. My career was destroyed because I complained about some employees at a local grocery store. So the local media went after me and they said, well, you can't do that. You can't do anything like that. And they called me a racist. When I'm not a racist. A little bit bigoted, but I'm a kind-hearted bigot. I give to charities. But that's it, folks, in a nutshell. I'm not married, don't have kids, because the autisms will destroy you. And when you're young, when you're 20s, it flies by. And so before you know it, you're 40 years old. You don't have a real job. You're living with your dad. These things are part of life. So that explains it. So yes, I'm traditional. I promote traditional marriage. Now someday I do hope to get married and have kids. I know that at this point, it will be a miracle, right? In the SVM, the sexual value market, or whatever they call it, I'm like -50 right there. It's like, anyway, folks, enough pontificating. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button. Go to my website, meadskeletonsplace.com. And remember, folks, say a prayer for someone special today. Bye-bye.